Hey there, Blade fans. Welcome back to another Maxace review. And yeah, I'm just a little bit late to the party on this one. The Black Mirror here from Maxace did come out well over a year ago, and here we are in October of 2023. Been meaning to get one finally, and they were out. Pretty popular knife, so a lot of the usual places such as White Mountain Knife Center, Blade HQ, at the moment I wanted one, seemed to be out of them, so I put it off. Finally, 3 weeks ago or so, ordered it directly from Maxace, and yes, it took about 3 weeks to arrive, which is typical for ordering things from the Maxace website. But they do get here, and they're well packaged, and you pay 15 bucks shipping, but that's about it. Okay, all that being said, let's take a look at the knife. It is not a large knife. It is not the smallest knife. It's got a blade a bit over 3 inches. We're going to measure that up in a moment. As with many Maxace knives, they go through periodic transformations where they take the same model and they begin to kind of experiment with various inlays. So I think this one is newer. So we could call this a newer knife, that they're using this carbon fiber and kind of a copper infusion combo. So yes, this copper could patina and darken over time if indeed it is copper, and I think it is. It's a completely flat surface to the inlay. It is perfect in that you cannot feel any differentiation between the titanium and the inlay. Only downside is, should have put it on the other side. I realize if they do, they either use a stripe of it here, but I've seen that sometimes as well, or turn it into a bolster lock sort of an arrangement, which the bolster locks are kind of nice because with the only exposed part of the frame lock up here, you tend not to close them accidentally. Anyway, let's open it up. I got a beautiful blade here. And one thing we're going to do is a compare in a bit between this and the Meerkat, which was a blade I got in recently as well. But I got that one from White Mountain. A lot of nice features here. I love the relief for the lock bar and those grooves there, not really jimping, depending upon the direction you look at it in. But yeah, nice clip too, by the way. And the Meerkat clip got replaced recently. Maybe you caught that video. You didn't catch it if you're not a Meerkat owner because it wouldn't really mean much to you. Unfortunately, we've got some billboarding there on the clip, which I don't really care for. It's anodized blue, so is the backspacer. Backspacer stands proud somewhat of the titanium frame. And the only jimping is on the underside of the blade, and it's actually fairly effective. So we don't have any up here, but it does allow you to choke up to about here. And if you're very careful, you won't get nicked because the heel of that blade kind of moves away. Got pretty much a straight plunge for your grind there, but you've got plenty of material over time to sharpen this thing with. And probably need to grab a piece of paper before we're done because it is a very slicey knife. And it's a sheep's foot. I think we'll call it a sheep's foot because of this rounded downturn here, which sets the point pretty much on line with the axis of the center of the handle. And as I think I heard Metal Complex comment in his review, it has kind of the appearance of a chef's knife, and the first point of contact is right near the heel. So if you want to be able to draw through the food when cutting it or start here and rock, you got that ability. Not that this is going to be your first choice as a chef's knife or a prep knife, but if you got it out on a picnic or you bring it to your local restaurant where they typically give us dull knives, you've got a nice steak slicer here. It's comfortable. It's hand filling to the degree that I've got about a ½ inch left over. Not bad. If I hold it back here, it's fairly comfortable. Let's take some measurements so we know what we're talking about here in terms of size. And I think I'll need to back out just a bit to do that. Okay, so the full length of the knife is 7.5 inches. The blade length is like I'm going to call it 3.25, right to the handle, with a cutting edge of like 3 1/8. Close enough. Other dimensions, so we're in millimeters, so let's go to the blade here. 2.7 millimeters on the blade, which is 0.10 inches. And 0.46, fairly slim across the handle. Let's see what she weighs. Nice bright display on the scale. Got new batteries in, yay. 3.6, we'll call it, rounding up. 3.6 ounces, so a fairly light knife. And along those lines, what is it doing for weight relieving, if any? Let's see. Try to tune that down a little. Nothing on the inside, and that's because it's a relatively small knife, and you've got the titanium cut out for the inlay on the show side of the knife. So 3.6 ounces, really not bad. Not bad at all. It definitely doesn't feel like any kind of a pocket anchor. And it does run on washers, as does the Meerkat. Now, I mistakenly said when I took the Meerkat apart, and I didn't even look because I was disassembling it quickly to put the clip on, I said it was on bearings, and as far as I can tell, both the Meerkat and the Black Mirror here are on washers, but very smooth on washers. Not going to call it drop shut. I don't know if you can see inside there or not. It's kind of difficult. Yeah, there we go. You can see that we've got kind of a nylon washer going on there. So definitely washers here. When I show you the Meerkat, we'll take another look at that, but I'm pretty sure in the last peek I took at that, it's also running on washers, which means it is a very smooth middle finger flick knife. You got to get over the detent hump, and it's pretty consistently smooth right in through there, right after the hump. You can open this with a thumb flick as well. I find it to be a little easier with the middle finger flick. No other method to open the knife. There's no back flipper. There's no thumb stud. And we got a nice little cutout there, a little notch in the blade that mates up beautifully with the stop pin. And it's just solid as a rock. Beautiful slicey knife. And since I said slicey, let's grab some paper. Alrighty, here we go. Here we go. This is a factory edge. Come on. My problem is I don't draw it when my hands are wrapped around the camera, and it's got to get a good start. I must have some real tough paper, that's all I can say. So we're going to call that sort of slicey, not dull by any means. And, you know, some knives will not cut paper well because they don't have a razor edge on them. Some knives with a toothier edge will not cut paper that well. And I can usually tell it's sort of a smooth edge, but I have felt sharper edges. So I'm thinking a little bit of stropping on this one, as I usually say, will improve that edge. And the grind is just straight up there. And you got plenty of meat on the point. Good point for detail work. Nice belly right about there. It's just a nice configuration. How about taking a look at the Meerkat again? Well, similar setup with the oval opening hole. And the Meerkat, I said, was on, I don't make a big deal about this really, but I did say the Meerkat was on bearings, but I'm seeing nylon washers in there too, unless the bearings are hidden underneath. Sometimes they're not in cages and you can't see the little balls exposed. And once we get over the detent hump on this one, it's about the same. So I'm thinking, yes, washers, right? And the funny thing is, I did have it apart, and I wasn't paying attention to what it was riding on. I was paying more attention to quickly replacing the clip. And there, now we have a decent clip. If you've seen the video on that one, it now has a clip very much the same as the black mirror. So there you go. It's almost as if you could interchange those clips, but I'm not going to try. This is now a useful little knife because I can carry it. And it's a smaller knife, for sure, than the black mirror. I didn't even mention the blade steel on these guys. They're both S90V, not M390, but S90V. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the Rockwell is, but you can probably look that up somewhere. Got a good inch shorter overall of the Meerkat, but when we put the blade out there, we got about a ½ inch. So this Meerkat, you would think, would have a better blade to handle ratio, but somehow the way it's set up, it's got a blade. I think this is being measured at like 3.15. Don't want to go crazy here with measurements, but actually, yeah, under 3 inches with like a 3.1, maybe 3.15 cutting edge. Interesting shape on this blade too. Still a useful point, more of a forward belly. Here's a knife from Maxace I really love because they did it right with an inlay on both sides. And look, they had to work pretty hard to get that inlay in there. Interesting design. This is the Kestrel. And the Kestrel is an M390. Near as I can tell. Is it marked? I know it's M390. This is the Big Spear version, which is kind of a cool recurve with a big broad belly, kind of a tapering point swedge. Very cool knife. I think for me the only downside is it's only a front flipper, but it's got a big long front flipper on it, so not difficult even for me with a kind of an arthritic thumb to flip it. That's not a comfortable position for me. Might be easily for you guys, you younger guys, but not for me. So there's the three of those. Kestrel being the biggest, Black Mirror the second, and the smallest being the Meerkat. S90V, S90V, M390. For you steel nerds. So quick compare with the Reptilian. See how it stacks up against that. It is a smaller blade, for sure, maybe an inch overall smaller than the Reptilian. With the blade not that much shorter. At least the way I'm looking at it here, if we measure from that furthest point forward on the handle, we've got maybe about a ½ inch or so, maybe slightly less. And yes, we've got to always measure up against the Rat 1. And we know it's going to be bigger. And there we are against the Rat 1, like a humongous inch and a half or so. Overall length longer. And about a little over a ½ inch longer on the blade. So let me know what you think. The Black Mirror, been out for a while, but they have resurfaced. And I think they are even available now at White Mountain. I'm going to leave you a link. And don't forget to use my discount code, Old Sword, for 10% off your purchase at White Mountain. You all be well. I will be back soon. I've got a couple more interesting items coming in. and you should check them out here. Take care.